I have to give credit where credit's due. Anbernic makes some nice looking handhelds, but they're just as guilty as a lot of these other companies out there, continually pumping out these products with very little difference between previous models. Sometimes it'll be the materials used or certain features or functions added or removed. Really, I mean, there's people out there who collect every single one of these devices, and then there's people looking for something very particular. And maybe this device will be for you. Today we're taking a look at the RG300X from Anbernic, their latest and greatest handheld. Is it the greatest though? Well, I'll let you be the judge, but I'll give you guys my pros and cons in a moment here. I just find it funny that this box, there's a little dude on there. It looks like he's either pooping out an RG300X or he's using one as a toilet. I mean, I guess he's just perching on there playing one, but it just looks kind of weird. But okay, let's just get right on into this thing and test it out. So what we have here is a 3-inch IPS display. It is at 640 by 480 resolution. We're also using the JZ4770 dual-core processor, which has been used multiple times in the past. We have HDMI out on this thing. It supports a lot of different games, different emulators, typically all your basic stuff that you could think of, all your 8 and 16-bit and a little beyond. Battery, we have a 2500 milliamp hour battery lasting around 6 to 8 hours. Headphone jack, and then a dual SD card, micro SD card slot, one for like the firmware and then the other one for games. Now, Keep Retro sent this to me for purpose of review, and the model they sent me only came with the 16 gigabyte micro SD card. I did not get any games with mine. And I thought, oh, maybe that's just something that they're doing. They don't want to ship these with games, but I was incorrect. You can look at their website, and they do sell models that come with thousands upon thousands of games for an additional fee. But that's not the model I received, and that's okay. So this thing, my God, out of every handheld that I've used as far as these straight out of China emulation devices, this one, in my eyes, is the most beautiful. Yes, most of these companies out there have been releasing this Famicom styling with the red and gold, and it is getting kind of old for some people, but I just really like that aesthetic. It looks really neat. Looks like an oversized Game Boy Micro. But yeah, I mean, either it's for you or it's not. They do have a black variant, a black and silver variant that has a similar styling to it. But yeah, I really do like this one. Not a big deal, but I think the quality behind it, the way it looks really nice. But you may have noticed by now that we don't have an analog stick, so there's going to be some limitations here. It's the same device as like the 350M and P, specs-wise and whatnot, but just missing certain things. So really, who is this thing for? I like it in the sense that I don't need a device that plays everything, and 10% of it isn't played that great. I do like to kind of buckle down on something that does one thing extremely well and not have that clutter of features and whatnot. That's just me. But then at the same time, looking at the price point on this device, I kind of question the thought behind this thing. Like, why? Why is it so pricey compared to previous models when it's missing some things and it's going to be limited in that sense? Now, I like playing handheld games like Game Boy, Neo Geo Pocket, Game Boy Advance, stuff like that. And this form factor works for me for the most part. Now, as far as the feel of the device, it is very quality in my opinion. The screen looks absolutely beautiful, but it does suffer from, similar issues I've had with previous handhelds like this, where the buttons and D-pad are a little mushy or a little stiff type of thing. The D-pad is a little mushy. I've tested in some games where I've had issues, like doing charge attacks and whatnot. Like, I don't know why, but it is something you get used to. It's not a bad D-pad by any means, but it's not one of the greatest either. The buttons are just okay. Like, nothing on here, like, feels cheap, in my opinion. Everything feels nice. It's just that getting used to the way this thing is designed as far as the feel of some of this stuff. Like I said, it doesn't feel bad or cheap in a sense. It just kind of has that different feel to it that you just got to get accustomed to, in my opinion anyway. And this thing's going to excel at playing a lot of those, handheld games, Game Boy Color, all that good stuff. and it's going to struggle with certain other things. Now, I'm just testing this with the Open Dingus, firmware that's on here. Sure, there will be custom firmwares out there that will be adapted to be able to be used on this thing. If you're looking to, get this thing shining a little better than what's already included on it, it works for me, but you got to keep this stuff in mind. For the price they're charging, around that $90 price point, for what you're getting here, you got to really be into this style and missing the analog sticks. And for me, I'm fine with that, but I feel the price should have been slightly lower for what this is, and it just kind of baffles me. Like, I know all these companies, we recently did video on the Pal Kitty miniature version of this, and it's just like everybody's kind of taking these steps back instead of going forward, but then all these companies do have plans in the future to release more powerful devices. So why are these like in betweens? I don't really get it. But like I said, if this is the style that you like and it suits your needs, it is a cool little device. One of my favorites, to be honest with you. Like, I've never really played one of these handhelds using the little analog stick that was built into it. I just want to be, limited in the sense that I don't want to play Dreamcast on this thing. I don't want to play like, PSP. I don't want to play these systems that don't really shine on this type of device. I want to play all the older stuff, the 8 and 16-bit things, and that's where this shines for the most part. The built-in emulators for this device, playing like Super Nintendo, I did notice with some of these special chip games that we have sound issues, some slowdown and whatnot. The FX chip games, I noticed that, but a lot of the other titles work just fine. And sure, custom firmware will fix those issues. Within all the emulators, you have some very basic options to tweak things around. Some of the systems, the aspect ratio is not quite correct. Some people will be bothered with that, and then some of the emulators that can be rectified, some of them not so much. You're going to be very limited with that. Like I said, custom firmware will be a thing that fixes a lot of those issues. But yeah, performance-wise, we're not seeing anything different versus previous devices that we've looked at. It's a nice one, looks beautiful, plays fairly well as long as you have your expectations in check. That screen is absolutely amazing looking. The viewing angles are on point. Can't really complain about that. Now, you do have that Hdmi out, which I did briefly test, and I did have some issues here and there. Sometimes I would get audio, sometimes I wouldn't. Everything was stretched the hell out, and I couldn't fix any of that. Not the way I would want to play this. It's a handheld. I don't like plugging handhelds into the TV and playing it that way. So that's kind of a non-issue to me. It's not the first device that supports HDMI out, but that is a feature some people want to know about and they would actually use. Me personally, I don't use it, and when I tried it, it just didn't work as well as I would hope, but it does support it, so there is that. So overall, my pros, with this thing, it looks really nice. For the most part, it plays well, and the performance is all right, but the cons are definitely going to be the price point and taking those steps back instead of moving forward. It's kind of like a little stopgap, like a little, all right, let's put something out just to kind of bring in some funds, maybe to fund the next project. I don't know. I don't really get all these variations of these devices that come out. It's kind of hard to keep up with at times. But hey, it is what it is. This is one of my favorites, but I know it's not going to be for everyone. Just simply because of it being limited in the fashion that it did take a few steps back as far as the form factor and the functionality goes. But for me, it's actually something I kind of like with what I want to use this device for. So if you're interested, link will be down below to Keep Retro's site. Like I said, they did send it to me for purpose of review. Typically pretty harsh with these things, man. I really haven't found too many of them that I actually like. But this is one of them that's kind of right in the middle there for me. I like it, but then I understand that, yeah, it's not really going to be for everyone. Thanks for watching. With that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out. Bye-bye. And boom. Bye.